Good morning, it's Lisa with Lisa Heal Yourself. Today I'm out walking, fall is in the air, things are changing, the sky's a little grayer and cooler, and I feel a little down walking. Nothing major, just a sense, an overall sense of, feeling a little wounded. Now there's nothing that happened, there's nothing that's happened. In fact, recently things have been going very well. But I want to talk about this today because it's very important on how sometimes when things are going well and we get a day which seems it should be, very easy and calming and we have sort of a peace about us, we'll sometimes get a little overarching sort of blanket of sadness. Okay? And this sadness is something that I want to talk about today. It's just little, it's barely there, but it sort of wraps you around and you just feel a little down, just a little down. And this is when things seem to be going okay. Our body says, now I want you to think of the thing. Now you're ready to feel those feelings. And you're like, but wait, I don't want to feel it today. Today I'm feeling good. Today things are going well. I want to revel in that. But your body says, no, now that you're okay, now that you're feeling okay, now that you're feeling ready, now that you're feeling, ready to enjoy this, I want you to feel this. And so we just have this resistance to it a little bit. We feel like, why me? Why me now? Why do I have to even feel this now? Where is this little bit of sadness coming from? Why is it here? So we all carry wounds inside of us, right? These wounds, we've been wounded, we've been hurt along the way, we've had a long, hard journey, we've had loss, we've had grief, we've had anger, we've had frustration, we've had shame, we've had guilt, and we've processed a lot of it. But we have these wounds that we've been holding on to, wounds that are deep inside us, and sometimes, even on your most comforting days, the days that seem quiet or easy, or you don't have a lot going on. I often feel this way in the fall when the busy summer is sort of behind me and the quiet fall lingers ahead. The kids have gone back to school and there's a sense of quiet around the house. Okay, so yes, once the kids go back to school and there's this sense of now I'm going to get things done, now I can focus on me, now I have this time, and your body says, oh, it's quiet. You have a full day ahead of you of quiet. Now I'm going to allow you to feel this, right? Now you're going to feel or notice the grief or notice the sadness. Notice that frustration or the loneliness. Notice, that wound that has been there has never really fully been felt all the way, right? So we carry these wounds with us. And a lot of times they're like blankets. They're like a security blanket. Now we have quiet, now we have peace. And our body's used to wrapping something around us for us to look at, an old wound. Now, regardless of what you think, old wounds are comforting, right? Oh, there it is. That little friend, that little bit of sadness, that wound I can think about. That old wound, that old part of me. There it is. And it feels comforting, in fact. And although we don't want to think of it as this is feeling comforting, there's something comforting about it. And so this is what I want to talk about today. I want to talk about holding onto our wounds longer than we need to. Because a lot of us, there are wounds to look at, to feel, and to process. No doubt, they're there. But some of us use those wounds forever. If something terrible happened to you, very terrible happened to you, that wound stays with you forever as a blanket, as an excuse, as a reason, right? As a reason not to, as a reason to get out of things, as a reason to feel sorry for yourself. Okay, people love the feeling of feeling sorry for themselves. It's a comforting feeling at times. Right? And this wound sticks around as a way to comfort us, believe it or not. And we allow it to stay. So even though we've processed it, even though we've felt it, even though we've been witnessed, truly heard by somebody, we've shared our story 1, 2, or 3, up to 3 times, right? We've truly been witnessed, and we've truly done the inner work on this. We've journaled about it. We've sat in meditation with it, and we have allowed ourselves to feel this feeling, right? And we've allowed ourselves to really accept that this happened, right? And to forgive. Sometimes there's just this little bit that lingers that we hold on to because we're scared. We're afraid to let go, because letting go of it means change. And it means actually healing. And that is the part that we're terrified of deep down. Because even though we want our bodies to be well, we want our bodies to feel good, we want to be healed from this wound, we don't really want to change, right? We don't really want to not have that blanket to, that excuse, that reason to feel sorry for ourselves, or crawl into bed, or take it easy, or cry, or get comfort from a friend. Right? We don't really want to let that go, because that has been healing for us. That has been helpful for us, because we're truly getting something out of it, some small bit of comfort, an excuse, right? It's like a little blanket of, it's just like a little security blanket for us, whether we want to believe it or not, and whether we even know it, because it's very subconscious. And it lingers because we really are afraid to let it go. Let's say that final goodbye to it. It's like a child who has a stuffed animal, or who has a soother, and they've used it. Now they're old enough to process and know that they don't need it, but they keep it in their room. They just bring it out on those days when they don't feel good, or when they feel a little scared, or a little sad, or a little bit lonely, a little bit scared, right? They'll still bring that stuffed animal out of the drawer and sleep with it on those days when they just need something. And just the final act of getting rid of it, saying it's going to be gone, changes them as a person, because it changes their ability to comfort, to self-soothe. They have to look for a new way. And so you have a pattern, I have a pattern, we all have a pattern in chronic illness, chronic pain, chronic symptoms, chronic disease, right? Where we comfort ourselves in certain ways. Maybe by needing stuff from certain people, maybe by shutting ourselves off, maybe by closing ourselves down, maybe by crawling into bed, maybe by over distracting, right? Maybe by crying and being felt sorry for by your spouse or your partner or a certain friend. Maybe we needed to get out of certain things that we really don't want to do, like take on some major responsibility on our own, or drive long distances, or go back to work, or whatever it is, right? Things are hard. Life is hard. And we've had this blanket, this terrible thing that's happened to us, and we've never consciously used it to our benefit. But having that wound there and knowing that wound exists, we've formulated ways to comfort ourselves, tactics that comfort ourselves using this wound. And so we're afraid to ultimately let the wound go, because if we let the wound go, it changes how we comfort, soothe ourselves, and it leaves us feeling vulnerable, scared, unsure, and it forces change in our life that we may not be ready to make, right? To stop talking about it to that person, to not look for comfort anymore, to take on the job, to drive the distances, to go to the parties, to go to those events you don't want to get up in public speak, to take that chance and start your business, to whatever it is that's that you're wrapping yourself in, and using this as a subconscious excuse to stay where you are. My arm gets so tired when I walk my dog and I do these videos. There she is. She's just a little one, but still she pulls. And holding up the one camera, I've got to get a different setup. The reason why I've been doing these videos outside for so long, not indoors, is because of COVID, and we have kids and family inside, and there's never a good time, there's never a good place to do a video. So hopefully when the kids go back to school, I'll be able to do a video indoors with the camera set up stationary, and that will be good all around. Anyways, getting back to wounds, okay? We have to be brave enough to let go of our wounds, to say, we've cried over this, we've felt this. It doesn't mean we're never going to hurt anymore, and it doesn't mean we can never reflect on that. But when we hold these wounds, we've been witnessed, we've done the work, we understand it, we accept that it happened, we forgive the people involved and ourselves. Now it's time to let it go. But it's like that smoker or whatever. It's like one more cigarette, one more day with it, one more day with it. I'm not feeling great today. One more day of processing this. One more day of sitting with it. One more day of meditation with it. One more day of feeling lonely with it or sad with it, right? It's like that day never comes unless you say, today is the day. I'm never going to smoke another cigarette again. And you throw it out. You throw the pack out. The child throws the stuffed animal out, right? You need to throw the wound out. And like, it's in the past, but now it needs to be gone, right? How do you get rid of this wound? You actually literally need to throw it away and say, today's the day. I don't use this wound anymore. It happened to me. It doesn't mean I'm never going to feel sad, but I'm not going to use this wound anymore as the reason that it holds me back. You know, that I need to do all this work around this wound anymore. Now, if you haven't done the work, I'm not talking to you. If you haven't journaled, if you haven't meditated on it, if you haven't talked about it to somebody and been witnessed, right? Like if you have had a death in your family, there's a certain period of grieving. You need to grieve. You need to think about the person. You need to journal about it, meditate about it, grieve about it. You need to talk about it to someone, to be witnessed, to be really heard and understood. And then at some point you need to let it go. It doesn't mean you're letting the pain go. It doesn't mean you'll never miss that person. It doesn't mean you're never going to feel sad about their absence, but it means it's enough, right? At some point, even though it's a terrible wound, a terrible loss, at some point it's holding you back from going forward, right? It's holding you back from moving forward. You know, if you lose your husband, you lose that spouse in the car accident, you know, at some point, holding on to that wound will keep you from finding another person to love, from getting remarried, from having that happiness, from feeling that family. And it doesn't mean when you move on, you can never think about that person again, or there will never be moments where you miss them or you're sad, but it means you're willing to let it go and to not bring that up as a wound anymore to the people in your life as a reason why you can't move forward, why you can't do it, or why you need them to feel sorry for you, why you need comfort, right? Why you need a break, why you need to crawl into bed, right? This at some point becomes a detriment to you. It's comforting, but it becomes a detriment. So I'm talking about letting go of wounds and how at some point it's almost important to rip the Band-Aid off, so to speak. And I know when it comes to emotions, you're like, but that doesn't seem right. We're just supposed to keep feeling this, right? And yes, somebody who's experienced trauma or grief does need to feel it. But are they supposed to only feel that forever? No. At some point, they're supposed to rip off the Band-Aid and say, it's over now. It's behind me. Yes, it was sad. Yes, it was terrible. Yes, it's left a hole in me. Yes, I miss it, but I'm ready to fill that hole. I'm ready to not let it stand in my way anymore. I'm not going to use it to get in the way of my life anymore. Which ultimately, because it keeps you from healing, right? This is very important. This is such an important video. Your wounds, you speak a language. Carolyn Myss calls it woundology. And I love that term because people get addicted to their wounds and they find themselves thinking about them, talking about them, crying about them, journaling about them, needing to be heard, going to a therapist, talking about them over and over. And we gain something out of that. We gain a comfort, a pity, a closeness, a connection with someone maybe. We gain this excuse. We gain this way of being that comforts us in a small way. But really, we're speaking this language, this woundology, this victim language, right? And it's holding you back because it doesn't leave room for personal power. It sort of takes you over, right? Woundology is a very victim language. It takes you over. It makes you powerless. And it becomes the reason that you stay stuck in all aspects of your life, in big ones or in small ones. And we don't realize that this is what's happening because we think it's good to talk about our feelings, to express our emotions, to feel our emotions. Oh my gosh, she's scared. Oh, that's so funny. Every time I walk by that man, he says hello and startles me. Such a funny man. But anyways, it always comes out of the blue and startles me. It doesn't matter whether I'm doing a video or just listening to something or walking. All of a sudden his voice comes out and startles me. Okay, so sorry. That was just calming down now. Okay. I don't know where I was in this video, and it's probably time to wrap it up. But I do want to say, holding tightly onto your wounds, speaking that language of woundology, expressing your wounds all the time, using them as a security blanket when you just aren't quite ready to move forward, or when you just need a little extra comfort, or whatever, it's stealing your spirit. It's holding your spirit captive, right? It's taking your personal power. It's like taking your spirit back to that time and putting it in that memory and putting it in that wound. And you're left without part of your soul, without part of your spirit, without part of your personal power that you need. And we really need to say enough. I take back my full spirit. I take back my full power. I am a whole person now. Today, I don't need this anymore. I let this go. I know it will still feel painful. I know it will still be painful, but I don't need to talk about it now anymore to every person that I see. I don't need to continue to cry over it and grieve over it every day. I don't need to continue to write about the same thing over and over every day. I need to allow it to be gone. I need to take my power back and say, okay, I'm no longer, even though I do, this has hurt me, even though this has wounded me, I no longer leave my spirit in this past. I no longer give my power to this. I take it back. I hold on to my power and I say enough. Enough. I throw the security blanket away. I throw the package of cigarettes in the trash can. I throw the wound away and say no more. No more. Today is a fresh day. We're not going to use you anymore for comfort, as an excuse, for anything. Right? I'm not giving my personal power to you anymore. I'm holding on to it. I'm taking it back. I'm calling back my own spirit, my own power. It stays with me now. Okay? So yes, you will hurt sometimes, and yes, you will feel it sometimes, and yes, you will cry sometimes, and that's okay. But we're not going to use it as an excuse or getting in the way of your life, or as a way to get attention, or as a way to draw people close to you, or keep them there, or keep them feeling sorry for you, or allowing yourself to feel sorry for yourself, right? We're not going to use it as pity anymore. We're not going to use it as a reason why we can't. We can, and we must, and we will, and we have to choose. It's a choice. It's a choice to say, I choose to take back my personal power. I choose to call the spirit back into my body where it belongs and move forward, right? And then you can cobble your life back together. Then, and only then, right? Then and only then can you begin to rebuild, right? We can begin to find love again. We can begin to have friends again. We can begin to reach out again. We can begin to go for our dreams. We can begin to live again. Okay, so this is so important, and I hope that you hear this. I'm not being mean when I say you're using your wounds. We all do it. It's subconscious, it's deep, and it's real. You are using your wound. You're using your wound long past when you needed to, okay? This wound, this victim mentality is hurting you. It's hurting you, and you can't move forward unless you choose to take your personal power and your spirit back and say no more. So I hope today you will choose to say no more, no more. Okay? When you notice that you're losing your power, when your spirit's slipping away from you, when you notice that little cloud of sadness or grief or loneliness or shame creeping in, notice if you're losing your power to a wound, to something that happened in the past. Are you losing your power to yesterday? And if you are, you have to stop, right? Don't lose your power to yesterday. Yesterday is not here anymore, right? Stand firmly in today and say, I won't lose my spirit to yesterday, to a wound, right? That's in the past. You can't allow yourself. And when you'll feel it, you'll feel your spirit starting to slip away. Your power starting to slip away as these little clouds of emotions come in. And notice, where are they coming from? Are they really coming from the moment? Then good, process them. But are they coming from yesterday? Are they coming from your old wounds, your past? Then you know that you're losing your personal power to your past, right? Your personal power of today, your spirit today, it's slipping back, and it's being held captive in your past, in a memory, in something that no longer exists. And you must call it back. You must stand firm and say, I no more, right? No more. I take back my personal power. I take it back today, and I move forward. I stand in today, and I go forward, right? So you must choose. You must choose. You can choose. Choose it today.